Hello. Have you ever wondered why sometimes it feels like you are hijacked by an aspect of you who is not who you usually are? And suddenly you are there saying something, doing something, feeling something, which is so emotional, and your brain, your mind can't really understand. There's no logical explanation. Well, this is because we are much more than one person, one aspect. This has been very much coined by Jung and the way he talks about archetypes. Let's deep dive. Deep dive into the fact that we are very complex and there are so many layers of us, and these layers are facets, just like a diamond. We have so many facets, and we know that 95% of who we are is unconscious because the brain needs a storage place, a storehouse to really keep all our experiences, everything we would need to learn how to speak, how to drive, how to walk if we didn't have that. So it's super important, but at the same time, it's 95% of who we are. So sometimes somebody will say something, let's see, this is somebody else, and it touches one aspect of us which is wounded, which feels small, which feels ignored, which feels rejected. And suddenly, what for this person might be very trivial is turning into an inner drama within because it's triggered a trauma, a wound. And that is in complete correlation with the nervous system, because the nervous system has as its strategy the capacity to compartmentalize, push aside, repress what is too difficult to experience, the wounding, the trauma. And therefore, it's put aside into what some people call parts or aspects or sub-personalities, so that we can carry on developing specifically when we're children. And as Brené Brown says, these strategies of compartmentalizing, on pushing away and creating parts are amazing when we're children, but comes a time in our life where they don't work anymore. They are like a big barrier, a big wall, which was erected to protect us. And at some point, it isolates us, it numbs us, it actually stunts our capacity to fully express ourselves, to fully feel alive, and to fully embrace who we are. Therefore, comes a moment where life goes, hello, I think you're big enough, I think you're mature enough to realize or to come into contact with this. So we're going to send you a person or an event or a circumstance which is going to make you feel small, make you feel hurt, make you feel whatever it is. And you will come in contact, or this will come into your awareness. Oh my God, you might think that this doesn't sound very exciting because it sounds painful. But really, when all of the aspects are in alignment, when all are in, when we know, when we've touched, when we've honored, when we've embraced all of them, then we are fully able to handle everything that life throws at us. Doesn't mean that you're not going to feel any pain. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be challenging, but you are like a strong tree with strong roots. It will sway. It might lose a branch or some leaves, but it will be just, moving, adapting with the weather, with the thunder, with the winds. And that's what happens when you start looking at these parts. In his book, there are no bad parts. Richard Schwartz, who is the founder of the internal family system, who actually explains that we are like a family, looks at all these parts and says that none of them are bad. And this is actually what my beautiful friend Pia explained in the video, which is about the polyvagal theory, when I was telling her about how I usually call these parts the good, the bad, and the ugly, or the archetypes. And she said, yeah, and I love the ugly part in me because it's there for a reason. And that was the one thing I needed to hear at that time. I love the ugly part in me because it's there, it was created for a reason. And that's what most people who work with the subpersonality, the archetypes, explain. They're called the shadow because they're in the shadow of our light. But when do we have a shadow? We only have a shadow when, if that's the shadow, we only have a shadow when there's an object in the way of the light. Therefore, the shadow cannot exist without the light. And if you draw that parallel to the energy that we are, the spiritual being that we are, the shadow is not there to punish us. The shadow is there to make us aware of what we have put in the way, consciously and most certainly unconsciously. Therefore, these little aspects, the lower, if we use the terminology of the language that we have, which is steeped in polarity, the negative emotions, they're just there, these parts, to show us where we're not fully whole, where we're not in alignment, when we haven't fully integrated all the different aspects of who we are, so that we are not threatened with what is coming to us. Because as Michael Singer says, and I love, and I quote this quite a lot, this about life, we are the sailors who are learning how to navigate. And no sailor will ever say, I pray that there's never going to be a storm in my life or bad weather, because there will be. So the whole point is to integrate all of the aspects so that we feel absolutely fine with the different aspects of who we are, and we're not threatened by the events which are challenging, and the bigger aspects of us can really look after the smaller ones. And that's really what happens when you start doing the shadow work. You get to a point of feeling that sense of wholeness where you don't need to change or fix or do anything to this anymore. You just feel that you can embrace it, you can honor it, you can absolutely love it. And what happens, the beauty of this is that as you do it for yourself, this transpires, this emanates, and this shines from you into the world, and suddenly you are able to love others in their wholeness beyond the parts which are not quite maybe right. You might be observing your judgment, but you are able to love them beyond their imperfection. As Yoria was saying in one of the videos, the art of being imperfect, you fully embody that, and you see it in others, and suddenly you can feel that the alignment you feel within yourself, you start seeing it outside, and you're not threatened, or you're not disturbed out of balance from what is going on. And that is the gift that you find in the shadow. Remember, there is a shadow behind me, and it only comes from the light which is in front of me. There. Without this light, there is no shadow. And the shadow is only showing us this, what's in the way. So let's embrace the shadow. Let's align, and let's remember that rather than fix the little aspects, let's try and really fully deep dive into the love, the compassion, the highest aspect of who we are, the big parts of who we are, the emotionally mature parts of who we are, and then open them and allow us to use these parts to look at the little ones and fully honor them. Shadow work is not something, it can be challenging, it can be a bit painful, but after all, it is to find the balance and start loving these little aspects. And as Yoria said to me one day, a quote she really loves is that when there is no enemy within, we cannot be impacted by the outside world. What about that? Yuria is the friend I am collaborating with to co-create some beautiful cacao ceremonies and sacred women's circle online events. Everything is going to fully take form in the new year 2024, collaborating with friends and inspiring women. Oh my God, so beautiful. I am very grateful. So it takes a lot of courage indeed to fully embrace everything, and specifically these little ones. And it takes some level of conscious desire to unlock the bigger aspect. But as we really open to the fullness, the wholeness of who we are, we bring that as a gift to the whole world. And mostly you feel so balanced, as I explained before. So you can join us through our online events, which will start very soon. Locally, we run cacao ceremonies and sacred women's circles. Any way you can really enter a sacred space especially a ceremonial space where you can really open up and sit and honor all these aspects of who you are, will tremendously expand the spaciousness of who you are and will allow you to become a larger container and to unlock these higher portals of who we are, where we are so spacious that we can really completely be contained and contain everything that happens to us, including challenges and crises and losses and all of these. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is definitely the way to go. I so wish you a beautiful end of year, and next year we are going to look at it from very, very different points of view. In the meantime, please check the video on Lady 1, Lady 2, Lady 3, which I call as well Type 1, Type 2, Type 3, which goes a little bit deeper into the archetypes and specifically apply to Cancer or a disease of that magnitude, looking at how our mindset and a state of being mostly will determine where we stand. Do we stand in any of these? The wounded, you could call it, the shadow, the transformation, the light. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.